The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
I wanted to do that for a while. I think I've ever done that before, naming the time, but hearing Chuck do that on a daily basis doesn't really do anything for me. In fact, sometimes it's depressing.
Are you
but I just...
You're like a 6:32 on a Thursday morning, or it's 32 past the hour?
Oh, I'm 6:32.
Yeah.
It took me way too long to figure out what the top and bottom of the hour
What's
were.
the clock say?
It says 6:32.
That's what time it is.
19,
It's
20,
30. But
22.
is it also 32 past the hour?
There are people who say it's 32 past the hour aren't broadcasting where you live.
Okay.
28 till 7. There's another option for you.
Again, well, that at least means you're broadcasting here.
We got college football out the wazoo. It does not include
It is
Wazoo.
bowl week. We are officially in bowl week, and this is the week that used to be, that treat between Christmas and New Year's, but the television networks.
Aren't we still between Christmas and New Year's?
Yes.
Used to
we
be,
still in
it used
that
to be
week?
limited only to this
This
time.
is what I'm getting at is the majority of the bowl games were played between Christmas and New Year's.
Yes.
We got 4 bowl games on the air today?
What I'm
How many
saying
did we
is
have yesterday?
we had plenty of bowl games played before Christmas, including the one Texas Tech played in.
There were a handful, but there weren't like 4
there was like 10.
There weren't like 4 a day. There's 4 today.
I know. I know that. I'm getting the point is that they've stretched out the bowl season. And in some instances, I kind of like it, but in some instances, I kind of don't like it because as much as I like going to a bowl game 2 weeks after the regular season ends, really,
There's a little sucky there.
Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Now,
Yeah, that was no good.
however, I'm also not going to go into ever be in the camp of less sports is good.
No, I'm all about that. But
More sports is better.
But I mean, and I shouldn't complain because for me this year it was great. Having a bowl game on December 16th worked out great for me this year, and
I really needed the December 26th game though.
that would have put a damper on my Christmas vacation.
I understand
trip
that
to North
it's
Carolina.
one of like 6 days in the calendar year that I can't find a Texas Tech win for this day in sports history.
He's been
trying to think.
calendaring for many moons.
I've been working on this since October.
Yes. So I
Now here and there, but I'm up to like May.
there's got to be like a holiday basketball tournament that somebody played in at some point. Even the Lady Raiders.
Going back to 93.
When records began to be kept.
Well, when I can get easy
1993.
records too. I'm
Yes.
sure there might be some dark
it's in
hole
there.
record that I can have to dig through, but
It's in there somewhere. Well, today you've got all kinds of action over on 100.7 The Score, starting with the Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
Yeah.
A 10 a.m. kick.
because when I think of wasabi, I think of Boston.
Yeah, that's gotta. You ever notice how some of these the sponsors in the bowl game just don't go together?
Well, you know what? It doesn't. Actually, I think wasabi might be more, relevant to Boston than you would think. Maybe.
Really?
I think that's
Yeah,
a
wasabi.
significant Asian American community.
You remember that commercial?
In Fenway.
Wasabi.
Yeah, that's yes. How could you not remember that?
Wasabi.
Number 24 ranked Southern Methodist
Oh, come
taking
on.
on the home team, essentially
Yeah.
6-6 Boston College. But
You know what I like about bowl games is when you get a 6-6 Power 5 team playing against a 10-win Group of 5 team, kind of like yesterday when we had the Military Bowl and we had 6-6 Vatech, and they just shoved it up the hindquarters of Tulane, and I loved it. It was great.
yeah, but Tulane beat USC a year ago.
Okay. So
In the New Year's, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Wait a second. Was that a situation where the New Year's Six game where USC was like, well, we're not in the playoffs. Now we got to play this group of 5 team?
Yes.
That's usually what happens.
It absolutely was. But that's why, I mean, those things happen because who's excited to play that game?
Exactly.
Not the
group of 5
school.
team is super excited to play that game. And the Power 5 team, which missed out on the playoff, is all like, jeez.
And
now we got to come back and play these guys?
Tech has lived that life.
Yeah.
See East Carolina, see South Florida.
No, the group of 5. Yeah, I was going to say go to the 08 Cotton Bowl, 09 Cotton Bowl.
See, I would still say the Holiday Bowl.
Yeah,
Texas
so
also
we
been
lived that
benefit.
life on the opposite side.
In the relation of this isn't where we really wanted to be, and we're kind of bummed.
We
today.
were hopeful to get into at the time the BCS, and when you get worked in Oklahoma, I mean,
Why you got to bring that up?
I mean,
That's the one game on that
part of our
year that
DNA,
I don't
man.
talk
that's
about.
if
part of our DNA, man.
If you lose that on the last drive of the game, do you get in? No, you don't get in. You don't get in.
You don't.
And you would have been.
You had to win that game to get to the Big 12.
You would have gotten
championship.
Florida Stated. Is what would have happened there.
I don't know about that. You were ranked number 2 in the nation at the time. If you win that game, you're
Number 2
I'm
in the
saying
nation.
You lose though in any way. I mean, let's say that you play a 28-27 game where you go for 2 just to win it in regulation. I mean, and that's not what would have happened. But let's say it did, you still would have gotten screwed. UT,
Not
if
if you win the game, you don't get screwed.
if you win the game, yes. But
Because
but
think
I'm
about
saying
that
There's
year.
no way that
You
you
would-
could lose that game, no matter how bad or how close.
You had
Wouldn't
everything
matter.
you needed that year. You had your star players. You had your Heisman moments. You had that'd have been a big upset. Not an upset. It'd have been a big win on the road against a top 10 team. You had everything you needed. You just had to win that game and not get beat 63-21.
Hang on. You have mentioned the Heisman moment.
So Harrell in the shotgun from the 28 to throw. Goes to the right side for Crabtree. It's caught. He breaks. Oh, he's the worst. Red Raiders. Unbelievable. Red Raiders. Michael Crabtree has done it.
John Harris just being John Harris,
Yeah.
but getting out John Harris by Sonny Cumbie.
Yeah, just giggling in the background.
You gotta leave it a little bit longer to get to the unbelievable Michael Crabtree.
Oh, man.
That's the head coach of Louisiana Tech, who will not be in a bowl game.
Yeah, let's see.
You got Rutgers.
Did you root for them at all this year?
I did. Man, I don't want to do throat punch somebody or whatever. That was probably not great. That the guy that super cheap shotted somebody. I don't think I don't remember what it was, but it was a bad deal. Give you the rest of the bowl schedule coming up, including a very exciting former Big East matchup. You're gonna love this one.
And this day in sports history on the way next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Welcome back to This Day in Sports History here on Double T 97.3. It's the Morning Drive with a guy that doesn't know what happens on the Morning Drive.
And that's okay.
I actually do know what happens at 6:45. I don't have a script in front of me. And the words you used just before this were, hey, Snead's got this thing. But what you meant is he's going to actually read the information about what happens in the past on this day.
Thank you, Garrett. As I hold this.
Stay classy, San Diego.
You stay classy, San Diego. I hold in my currently nicotine-stained fingers. Today is December 28th in the year of our Lord, 2023. We're all going to make it, y'all. Minds are wrong. All right, here we go. 28 years past. All right. Thank you to our fine listening audience. 1944. I almost said Chuck. Garrett, 1944, former Washington third baseman Buddy Lewis wins the Distinguished Flying Cross for precision flying over Burma in the Burma War Theater. That would be in World War II.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think there was any sports happening in 1944.
Not a lot of sports, but there were some sports. Not a lot of them. 1957, Garrett. CBS states it won't broadcast baseball where minor league games are on.
Back when minor league ball meant something.
It actually did. In some places, it was bigger than Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah. PCL?
Yeah. The Sally, South Atlantic League.
Oh, yeah. Southern baseball. I mean, I get why that would be a thing back then.
1974, the fourth Fiesta Bowl. Oklahoma State beats number 17 BYU 16-6. Pretty sure LaBelle Edwards coached that game too.
A preview of future Big 12 games.
Ooh.
Went to
who
double
knew
overtime
in 1974. Huh?
They went to double OT this past year.
Yeah.
It took not one, but two overtimes from Mike Gundy to overcome the Cougars and prevent them from going bowling.
He didn't know a third-string quarterback. 1975, Garrett, with 32 seconds left in the NFC Divisional Playoff games, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Roger Staubach throws a legendary 50-yard winning touchdown pass to Drew Pearson to beat the Minnesota Vikings, and the Hail Mary was born. He said that in the postgame. He said, I just dropped back and I said I called out for a Hail Mary.
Is that literally where
That's literally how it...
no way.
He called it the Hail Mary play.
For a second there, I thought you were about to talk about the catch.
Not making that up.
Who puts that together?
You wouldn't.
Who puts that together?
I get it. But
do we talk about
I hear
losses?
about someone dropping back in a Cowboys playoff game,
do we talk about losses?
To mind is the wrong color jersey. Sorry for bringing that up, Cowboys fans.
2008.
Dad, I apologize.
2008. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Well, my dad, if he's not awake, but if he was, he would be throwing things right now somewhere.
2008, Garrett. The Detroit Lions crash into... What did you write here? The Detroit Lions crash into a 31-21 loss to the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. The first team in NFL history to go winless in a 16-game season. Now, you're saying, Chris, didn't the Buccaneers go winless in a season? Yes, they lost 14 games in 14. That was in 76. So this is the first team to go 0-16. 2012, Garrett. DJ Johnson returned an interception 39 yards, and Ryan Buston made a 28-yard field goal as time expires to give your Red Raiders a 34-31 comeback victory over Minnesota in the Meineke Car Care Bowl.
I was there, and I don't even remember any of that.
I was also there. That game was kind of a blur.
I remember one thing about that game. You want to take a guess at what it was?
Tommy Tuberville did not coach it.
No. Shout out Chris Thompson.
Chris Thompson did coach it.
And I was disappointed that he wasn't retained. In fact, Sonny Cumbie's tenure here might have been significantly different if he'd have ponied up to keep Chris Thompson around.
Yeah.
Because he would have been the one guy with white hair on the
Cliff
staff.
Kingsbury.
What did I say?
Sonny Cumbie.
What the heck?
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury.
I got Sonny on the mind.
You remember that?
Unbelievable Michael Crabtree. Yes,
Cliff Kingsbury was sitting in the box, and they flashed to him, and the stadium went nuts.
Sonny Cumbie was on that staff, but he was probably the most gray hair, figuratively, there was, unfortunately.
Yeah. What do you remember of that game?
I remember Jay Samaro fighting a guy wearing a helmet, which is one of the dumbest things any human can do.
Yeah, getting ejected.
Second quarter?
Yeah,
I mean, it was
before
early.
halftime.
But he's laying on top of him
and just pounding a guy.
Christmas Story bullying him in the snow while the guy's wearing a helmet. Guess who's losing that one, Jace? But honestly, that kind of fit the whole Jace narrative in my mind, too.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you just took a shot.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
He's the B.J. Simmons of tight ends.
Wait, what?
Not a lot.
Why is B.J. Simmons catching strays?
Not a lot going on up here.
What are we doing going on?
Gunslinger, baby. Gunslinger.
Okay.
This is how I feel. I tell these
evidently,
I've said it many times.
The thoughts of Garrett Luft are not those of Chris Snead.
B.J. Simmons is the most popular air raid quarterback by far, and he is my least favorite. And I have never been quiet about that.
It's National Box of Chocolates Day. Happy Forrest Gump Day.
That's not Valentine's Day?
I don't know. Born on this day. Happy birthday, Red Raider first baseman Eric Gutierrez. Good.
Oh, man. And now first base coach.
Yeah.
And now full-time?
Yeah.
Coach, yeah.
Full-time
paid guy.
Full-time. Now, he's actually the
Director of Ops.
Director of Ops.
Because we moved...
Joe Hughes.
Joe Hughes has to get out of the khakis and actually wear baseball pants.
And and I
Is
think
Goot going to go to khakis now?
He has to, because you cannot be in uniform, and that's part of the uniform. Born on this day. How do I have to tell you? John Legend. 45. Denzel Washington. 69.
Dadgum.
Maggie Smith. 89. Seth Meyers. 50.
50.
Joe Manganiello, 47. Dead on this day, still dead, American Pro Football Hall of Famer, coach, and award-winning sportscaster with all 4 networks, John Madden, dies. Dead at 85. And on this day in 1973, President Richard Nixon signs the Endangered Species Act into law. The act, which Nixon called for the previous year, is considered one of the most significant and influential environmental laws in American history.
And without it, we don't have Kaylee's Dailies.
True that.
Not on this
And that is
program,
this day in sports history.
It's entertaining.
We try.
More entertainment coming your way next. And your thoughts from the Ace Flooring Center chat line on the Morning Drive.
Catches strays.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We'll have questions in a minute from someone else, but I've got a question for you, Chris Snead. And I don't know if you remember about a lot, because you've done many, many things. You do probably like 3 different jobs a day on average, maybe 2.5.
I get Chuck bangs on me for having 17 jobs. I actually don't have 17 jobs. I have 1 job, and I have a couple of hobbies I get paid really well for.
That's what do you have people ask you, do you do that? You get paid to do that radio stuff? Do you have people ask you that? They ask me that all the time.
I'm not schlepping my tail
answer to that
out of
question is
bed
no,
at
we don't.
4:45 for free.
And it's like maybe 15 years ago when this station began, I would have been like, oh yeah, cool, I'll come in and talk about sports on the radio.
Yeah.
But my wife would have stabbed me.
There was a
if I was
point
doing that without
when
getting paid.
There was a point when I did do some local radio for free. In a former radio life, yeah. And either that or for some tamales.
Well, hey,
but
that's paid.
But I mean, hey, when I got the opportunity to do this here, heck yeah.
Well, you were the original voice on Double T 97.3.
Yes.
Alongside Mike Gustafson on the Morning Drive.
Miguel.
So the first voice you ever heard on this radio station in 2009 was the voice of Chris Snead. Now, that was also the first year I ever did any radio, hosting a Saturday morning quarterback with my man Andy Penny.
Money Penny.
And I also got my first opportunity to delve into filling in on the regular radio programs. And in that year, I filled in a few times on the Morning Drive with you. And one of those times happened to be a significant day in Texas Tech history. And I was sitting at the old studio at 98th University.
Yes.
I believe I was sitting on that side of the table, and you were sitting on this side of the table.
It means I was the. Well, Chuck sat on this side. It's ironic because Chuck sat on when we were over there. He sat on this side.
This is pre-Chuck.
Okay. Well, when it was. When I was in the chair, I sat on this side, and Gus sat over there.
Well, then maybe I'm having... You know what? Maybe there was a third chair added that day, and that's why I'm misremembering our locations.
Yeah.
But do you remember the significant Texas Tech historical moment that took place while you and I sat together on the Morning Drive?
Was it over Christmas?
Yes, it was. That'll probably give it away.
So it was probably the day that Mike Leach got fired.
Close. Yes, essentially. It was the morning that the news broke.
That Mike Leach was going to be suspended? Or was this the day that we went? Because I remember doing the show that morning. It was over Christmas. I came in, I did the show, and then I was off the rest of the day because it was Christmas time. Texas Tech was closed. And I remember I see Brandy Blake. Remember Brandy Blake?
Oh yeah,
the producer you could fit in your pocket. she was
now doing outstanding work at Open Door.
Yeah,
for the homeless community here.
She said, "Why don't you take this microphone?" And they were having the Mike Leach. Was this the day? This the Mike Leach?
No.
This is not the Mike Leach hearing day?
We were literally about 8 a.m. Maybe it was a little earlier even, but it was like the rumors hit that, hey, Mike Leach is about to get fired. And literally nobody had any idea. Mm-hmm. You and I were sitting on this show, and you're far more insider, inside baseball when it comes to Texas Tech than I am.
Yeah.
Nobody had any clue what was coming. Nobody.
No.
And that news hit. Chuck was GMing us at the time, I believe.
He was
the Jamie Lent before.
Yeah.
The Jamie Lent. And I guess he was the GM of all radio. I don't know. Chuck was big man of some kind.
Still a big man.
He's still a big man. But he came in, and I remember his words, something to the effect of, tread carefully, gentlemen.
I remember that. Because Chuck would walk around, and you were just like, oh boy, there's Chuck. And if he would stick his head in, I mean, every hair on your body would stand up straight when he stuck his head in the door.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh boy, what
how nervous I used to get filling in with Chuck because, I didn't know him as well then, but he was like the guy that came in and said things like, hey, fellas, tread carefully.
Yeah.
And about 20 minutes later, Chris Level had been hauled out of his bed somewhere.
Yeah, because he was in San Antonio already.
Was he? I don't know that
this was the day of the suspension.
This is the initial.
This is the day of the suspension.
The team hadn't even gone yet. I don't think.
Because Mike Leach
they had just gotten there.
Yeah, because I remember the next day, Level was in San Antonio. Dickens was in San Antonio already. Gus was off. I was here. You were filling in, I guess.
Yep.
And it was the day that he actually got fired. And so Brandy Blake said, take this microphone and go down there and just cover the trial. Do some man on the street interviews. And I was going to go down there. So I get down to the courthouse, and we walk in. There's a bunch of people sitting outside the courtroom. They weren't going to let anybody in. But somehow a couple of media guys got in, and I was trying to get in and trying to work some magic. I couldn't get in the room. Small courtroom. And so I'm sitting there, and then I see the principals from Texas Tech show up. Then I see Leach's attorney show up.
In a neck brace.
And a back brace.
An injury lawyer in a full...
But a back brace. But he was, more importantly, he was wearing like shorts and a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Because
it was...
He didn't think that there was going to be any actual go into court. Okay? Well, I think the lawyers from Texas Tech said, you probably want to go put a suit on for this. And so he went home. So we all sit there longer, So it's like 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:30. Well, they go back into the courtroom, and apparently in the conference room, they handed him the letter that says, you don't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. So,
and that $1 million you're about to take home, you ain't getting.
Yeah. Well, Ted Liggett, the attorney, he goes into the courtroom, open court, and I'm listening. I'm standing at the door, the crack of the door, and I can hear him say, your client has been terminated by Texas Tech effective immediately. And I sprinted from that door to the elevator and called the station. And on the way down, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Jacob Chandler Smith, who was still the board op then. And was it you then? Did I call you? And I said, put me on the air right now. Put me on the air. And I didn't even tell him what happened. And I told whoever it was that it was Tech Talk at lunchtime right then. And I said,
it was Geo flying solo.
Yeah. I said, this is Chris Snead with double T. Well, actually, at the time, the previous number, the station numbers. And I said, I have breaking news from the Lubbock County Courthouse. This just in, Mike Leach has been fired. That is correct. Texas Tech has just informed Mike Leach's attorneys that he has been fired as the head coach of Texas Tech, effective immediately.
And we didn't take a break for 45 minutes.
Yep. And so
nothing but phone calls of people all saying the same thing.
I walk out the door of the front, and I walk around the corner, and I'm walking back to where my car is parked. Who do I walk and run into? Ted Liggett and his assistant attorney, Chris Ritter. And I go, hey, and he goes, hey, Ted, how you doing? Hey, Chris, how you doing? And I hold this thing. I said, do you have a comment you want to make for the record? And he looks at his thing and he goes, no, I don't believe I will right now, Chris. And I said, all right, we'll talk to you later. He goes, hey, good to see you. Good to see you too. I hustled back to the station. I called and said, what are we going to do? Come back and get on the air. And me and Gio were on the air for 6 straight hours.
For the longevity and growth of this station, probably one of the best things that could have happened. But a lot of you on the Yates Flooring Center chat line disagree with it being a good call. Shocking that would still stir those feelings in 2023.
Don't you rip that Band-Aid off right now.
Coming up next, Jamie's question of the day by a guy not named Jamie.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day, brought to you by someone not named Jamie.
And today, doing the duties of asking Jamie's question of the day, not from Jamie, Jeff McGuire.
All right, so we're kind of near the end of the year, so this type of question has been asked a lot. But this is a 2-part question, and we will start with Garrett for the answer on this. Part 1 of this question leads also into part 2. So part 1 is, Texas Tech football in 2023 was, and part 2 is, Texas Tech football in 2024 will be what?
My first answer is going to be underwhelming. 2023 was underwhelming. I can't say it was bad because you still have a winning record and 3 straight years of bowl wins and winning records, which, by the way, that's only happened once in school history. The bowl piece, anyway. Consecutive seasons. 2024, reason to show up again. I'll leave it at that for now.
I would say that 2023 was frustrating. And 2024, I guess you would just label it as hopeful. That's all I can leave it as hopeful.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And
I'll be ready for it. I'm looking forward to it.
I think we could probably change my first one. 2023 was educational for a lot of reasons, for a lot of people.
For Joey McGuire?
It was educational for Joey McGuire. Hey, he's going to learn to temper expectations. I think his enthusiasm for his team and what they could be it transferred to the fan base. And when you give a fan base hope, like the SEC shorts, hope shows up at the front door. Boy, I tell you what, it is something. I mean, you'd walk around. You think we're going to win 11 games this year, Snead? No, I don't. I don't think, well, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got this. No, you still got this, and you still got this, and you got this.
But did you think we were going to win 9?
I thought we'd win 9. I actually said,
that's where I was.
mean, I think I was on record as saying I thought this was an 8-win team with a chance to win 9. And the people that were just saying, hey, we're going to go 11-1, we're going to play in the cup. I think the worst thing that happened to this fan base was having a guy like Brett McMurphy put Texas Tech in the Cotton Bowl. And, I mean, that's a person that's got skins on the wall. It's a real guy saying real things about real teams. And he put your program, in the same vein as Alabama. And I think people just, I mean, let me Joey's a contagious guy. his enthusiasm is infectious. And when he says things like that and believes things, he got this fan base to believe. So I say it's educational for him because he learned a valuable lesson that this fan base is going to lap up whatever you feed.
But hold on, did he? Because I don't think we've had a chance yet to see.
I think we're probably a little bit early on this deal. You know, I mean, when he said,
see how he handles
this year's team would beat last year's team by 21.
Yeah,
this year's offensive line is probably the strongest group on our roster. I think there are just expectations that he heaped out there, and so it's got to be educational for Joey. I don't think you're ever going to see Joey say things like that again. Because if I'm Joey McGuire, I am never, ever, ever telling this fan base this year's team is going to be so much better than last year's team. I'm going to temper expectations. I mean, I'm going to be so vanilla. I'm going to be so milk chocolate. I am going to be, not milk chocolate, milk bread, milk toast, as they like to say. Milk chocolate's actually wonderful.
More like dark chocolate. Just,
no, it's kind of bitter.
Pretty bland and bitter.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to slug it out in 2024. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I think you'll probably, and so for fan base, I think we as fans should have educated ourselves on some of these things. Are we going to just buy into what they say?
Well, nobody wanted, and this texter here says, if you believe an NFL study, teams who win a lot of close games typically regress the next year, while teams that lose a lot of close games improve the next year. Nobody wanted to acknowledge how close you were to 4-8 2 years ago.
It's true.
Very close.
You're a couple of possessions away from 4-8 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you also say, you're also a couple of possessions away from 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where you're at as a program. And what you take for granted this year is that you beat the snot out of Baylor on the road. And you might say, well, Baylor was terrible. But yeah, what have you done in the last 15 years against terrible teams? You haven't beat the snot out of them very frequently.
Yeah.
You did the same thing, essentially against Houston at home. And the year before, I mean, compare those years to years.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you have to escape them. And last year, there was no question really in that game.
To answer my own question.
About to say, we got to give you a chance here.
I would say that 2023 was offensively bland. When you look at the way the offense ran pretty much throughout the whole year.
That's putting it nicely, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be nice. It's Christmas. We can try to be nice. And 2024 will be curious. When you look at how everything's going to work next year, does Baron Morton put in the time in this offseason to get his nose in the playbook so he can make better decisions? Does Taj Brooks come back with a chip on his shoulder ready to prove the NFL scouts wrong? Does your offensive line get better? Are your new receivers that are coming in going to be able to outmatch what you got last year, which is a very low bar, but we have no idea if they're going to or not, because now the moniker of Texas Tech wide receivers, what we do is catch the football, is no longer accurate. You've got to prove it again. And can your defense make up for losing all of the leadership that they lost this year to next year? And a defense that has carried you for the better part of 3 years.
Not to get hung up on it. That was a cryptic Baron Morton statement that you made.
I think that was kind of a cryptic. I think what you said was very interesting. And, I mean, I'd like to examine that more. We got to do the boom, boom, boom next. But I'd like to get into that more because you said a couple of things that, I don't think proving the scouts wrong of the NFL. Taj, from a running back standpoint, he's a grinding running back. He's a 2 yards in a cloud of dust guy. He's not going to outrace anybody, and he needs a pretty good offensive line.
He always falls forward. Texter here says 2023 Taj, 2024 Hudson. I hope that might be true.
Let's hope.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
If you need a little jolt, there's some Rocky music for you. Get you moving. Have you been to the steps?
Yes.
Of the art museum or whatever it is there?
Two summers ago.
Really?
Yeah. A Dude Bro trip.
Dude Bro, you do bro to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually got the video. We took the video of running up the steps.
Where's Dude Bro 2024?
I don't know. I think we're going to probably talk about this evening. I'm a mini Dude Bro in El Paso.
That's not a bad. I think El Paso worthy of a dude bro trip, especially when it's home. Once was home. Texas Tech. And I guess unless you walk in special passes, you'll have to walk up the stairs to get into the United Supermarkets Arena tonight to watch the Red Raiders and Sam Houston State. Still Sam Houston State? Or just Sam? I don't know what they are. They're the Bearcats with a K. They will come in to the ballgame tonight with a record of 6-7. They have lost to 3 Power 5 opponents. Oklahoma State, they lost to in Stillwater on November 12th by 15, which so far, at least, Oklahoma State, not very good.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Chris Beard's undefeated Ole Miss Rebels by 3 in Oxford, 70-67 on November 17th. And they lost to Arizona State, 78-61. The Fightin' Bobby Hurleys on November 29th. They have not played a Power 5 opponent since, although in the meantime they have lost to Missouri State and Texas State and Grand Canyon. All those on the road except for Texas State. So they come into Lubbock with a record of 6-7, not as good as they've been in some years past. But the Red Raiders with 2 more tune-ups. They get this one tonight, and then on New Year's Day, they take on somebody. I should know this.
New Year's Day?
I believe it's New Year's Day.
I don't think we play New Year's Day.
One last non-conference game. Well, see, here you go. It is going to be New Year's Day against North Alabama. A 1 p.m. tip-off. You get time to recover from the night before. Get a little brunch in you, maybe. But, take it back to the Bob Knight years.
Oh, my Lord.
New Year's Day against... Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, that audio you heard was not worth talking about. Been down that road a little bit already.
Oh, sorry, dude.
So Sam Houston, the Raiders' opponents tonight. Two more chances to watch this team play. Snead, when you look at what you've done since the injury to Devin Cambridge,
mm-hmm.
How much do you still want to see, and what do you still feel like needs to be refined before January 6th trip to the University of Texas and the Mood?
More consistency. The inside game has got to get. We got to find more consistency on the inside. Warren Washington, he's just got to be stronger around the rim. It seems that he gets out hustled by lesser opponents sometimes. And he's even guys he's got a decided height advantage over. We're going to need that. It's all going to start there in the paint. And if he can't he can establish an inside presence and protect the rim, it's going to be tough. It's going to be the bottom line for this team. Do I expect them to go into Austin and win? No. You've got to figure out a way to win 8 games in this conference somehow. And then the wins are there. You get to play UCF twice. You got K-State at home. You've got to protect home court, and you're going to have to pick up some wins over some teams in the league that you should beat. West Virginia is not very good. They should be beatable on the road. You need to win that game. There's just teams you're going to have to win, and if you don't get to 8, this team has no chance of being and that's just to get yourself on the bubble for the
it's
tournament.
64 in the net right now.
Yeah.
Not in a favorable spot.
Hang on. The net's going to go up just
by
playing Big 12 games.
Inevitably, you could win 4 conference games and you'll probably finish higher than 64. But the fact of the matter is, a team that I think still has enough on its plate to be competitive. But there will be no going small for this Texas Tech basketball team. They will show up small, and they will stay that way. Warren Washington, really the only true big, really at all on this roster. Robert Jennings getting more playing time after the injury to Devin Cambridge. To me, and I think Albert hits it on the head here on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. He says, absolutely got to stop the low percentage passing. And when you're a team that I don't think will be able to defend at the rate you want to, just because of the fact that you are smaller, and I think we'll give up some paint points and then have to make some sacrifices inside in order to defend that, and therefore you'll open up some things on the outside. I don't think you're going to hold people under 60 very much.
Can this team consistently hit from the perimeter enough for that to work? That's the problem with this team. I don't think you have a consistent enough. I mean, at this point, Pop hasn't been that guy yet.
Well,
Toussaint wants to be that guy, but he needs to attack the rim.
You've been better than some years past, though, where you were consistent just in a bad way.
Yeah.
There have been moments where you've hit shots, and you hope that you can string some of those together. Unfortunately, you've hit more shots on the road than you have at home, typically so far this season, or at neutral sites. But to Albert's point, I think you cannot afford to give up possessions with just silly, particularly transition-oriented turnovers. You've got to take care of the basketball and give yourself an opportunity to score, because you haven't been consistent enough yet and had that chemistry. Now, that will be what's interesting to me about these next few weeks, because even the really outstanding Tech teams, the first year of Mark Adams, the great runs that Chris Beard had, you had stretches even of Big 12 play where offensively you were gross, stagnant. And it took time to kind of find your rhythm. I think in a weird way, this Devin Cambridge injury might have done you a favor in terms of it has forced you to become more diverse. It has forced you to integrate some other guys and them to kind of find themselves. Whereas if you went in the Big 12 play with, hey, we need Pop to hit a few here and there, we need Chance McMillan to hit a few here and there, and then we just need Devin Cambridge to go off, you can't rely on that anymore. And so a whole lot of guys have had to sort of step up when they haven't to. Another texter says we need Emili Yalaho to show up.
Here's the thing.
I don't know, man.
You wonder about him. Is it an offensive show up or is it a defensive show up? Because I think right now it's probably his issue. He's not playing much defense. And there's some of the problems. You've got, like some people that probably can help you on offense aren't playing much defense. And this team's going to have to play D.
Yeah, you need all five guys to show up. And it's different. I mean, I feel like you could kind of understand and get a feel for exactly what Mark Adams and Chris Beard were trying to do defensively for that stretch of tenure. Now, I still haven't completely figured out what it is that the scheme looks like. I know it looks different, and I know you're not switching everything, but it sure feels like, and he did it on occasion with those teams as well, but more often than you would like, you give up some really easy buckets. Paul says, with the lack of fouls, it feels like men's basketball will have a tough time in the Big 12. Feels like West Virginia will smother Tech's non-aggressive style. I do think that'll be an interesting part, too, because the game is going to get far more physical, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the officiating is going to ramp it up, too.
It'll start to get
It
a
always
little tighter.
ramps up. They start to call a little tighter in conference play.
Kobe,
that is one thing that is
typically.
It starts, you start...
You just hope you're on the right side of it. Kobe says, you've been at least streaky from outside, which is better than just bad like we have been before. And I agree. That's where you've been over the last few seasons, where you felt like, who's going to hit a shot? You got a number of guys that have hit quite a few shots at every given moment. We just need them to string them together more consistent.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.